The first light of dawn crept over the jagged ridge like a quiet confession, pale and trembling, spilling gold across the dusty frontier town of Red Hollow. Most people were still asleep, dreaming safely behind locked doors, unaware that destiny was stirring on the outskirts of their world. Elara Monroe was already awake. She always was. Dawn had become her companion ever since the war had taken her father and left her with a stubborn heart and a refusal to fear the dark. She had ventured out beyond the boundary fence that morning, following the echo of distant crows and the scent of dry sage on the breeze, when she saw him, collapsed near the old ravine, face half buried in the dirt, one gloved hand clawing weakly at the earth as if grasping for life itself. At first, she thought he was dead. But then she noticed the arrow. It was buried deep in his back, its fletching stained black with drying blood, the shaft trembling with each shallow breath. He wore a marshal's coat, faded, torn, dust-caked, but the silver badge on his chest still glinted faintly, catching the newborn sun. A lawman. Alone. Wounded. Forgotten. The kind of man Red Hollow whispered about in saloons and around fire pits. The kind bounty hunters loved to track. Elara knelt beside him, heart hammering, instinct telling her to run while another voice, louder, fiercer, urged her to help. When she rolled him over, his eyes fluttered open. Sharp. Haunted. Alive. Don't let them find me, he rasped, his voice like gravel dragged through fire. They're coming, at dawn. The words chilled her more than the morning air. She didn't ask who they were. In the West, everyone knew what bounty hunters meant, men paid to chase ghosts, track blood, and collect either living prisoners or dead bodies. Elara tore a strip from her shawl and pressed it against the wound, though the bleeding was relentless, soaking the cloth almost instantly. You're not dying today, she muttered, more to herself than to him. With effort that burned her muscles and nerves, she hauled him onto her horse, a stubborn chestnut mare named Lark, and rode toward her cabin hidden in the scrubby hills where few people ever bother to look. Inside the cabin, time became a battlefield. Elara worked with shaking hands, cutting away blood-soaked fabric, gripping the arrow's shaft while whispering apologies he might never hear. The Marshal groaned when she pulled it free, the sound torn from deep inside his chest, and then fell into unconsciousness. Blood pooled on the floorboards. Sweat slicked Elara's brow. She cleaned the wound, packed it with herbs her mother had once taught her to use, and wrapped his torso tightly with clean cloth. Outside, the wind whispered like a warning. Somewhere beyond the hills, riders would soon be mounting their horses, loading their rifles, and following the trail of a wounded man whose name carried both fear and legend. Hours passed like years. When the Marshal finally woke, his gaze locked onto hers with suspicion that slowly softened into weary gratitude. "Name's Kane Wilder," he said hoarsely. The name struck her like thunder. Kane Wilder, the Marshal rumored to have brought down entire outlaw gangs, the man whose badge represented justice and vengeance in equal measure. "You're supposed to be untouchable," Elara murmured. He gave a faint, humorless smile. "Everyone bleeds eventually." Then his eyes darkened. "They want me dead. Not just criminals. Powerful men. Corrupt men. I uncovered something worth killing for." The stakes suddenly felt heavier than blood. Outside, hoofbeats echoed faintly across the valley, distant but unmistakable. Elara stepped to the window and saw dust rising like a storm on the horizon. Bounty hunters. 3 riders, maybe more, scanning the land with the patience of predators. The morning sun climbed higher, illuminating every hiding place and stripping away every shadow. Kane struggled to sit up, pain contorting his features. "If they catch me," he muttered, "they won't bring me in alive." Elara clenched her jaw. She had already risked everything by helping him, turning back now would mean surrendering him to death, and surrendering her own courage. "Then we don't let them catch you," she said. Her voice was steady, though fear flickered behind her eyes like wildfire. Kane studied her, seeing more than just a frontier girl. He saw resolve, grit, and a heart that refused to bow to cruelty. "You shouldn't be dragged into this," he said quietly. "People like me bring trouble." Elara smirked. "People like you bring stories," she replied. "And I'm tired of living in a quiet one." As the bounty hunters drew closer, the air tightened with tension. Elara gathered supplies, loaded her rifle, and prepared Lark for a possible escape. Cain forced himself to stand, leaning heavily against the wall, every movement costing him pain. The sound of distant shouts drifted through the hills, hunters calling out, boasting about the price on Cain Wilder's head. The game had begun. Elara looked straight at him. "If we make it through this," she said, "your story deserves to be told." Cain chuckled weakly. "Then make sure people remember it. And if this story speaks to you, if you feel the tension, the courage, the rising storm, don't forget to subscribe to the channel so you won't miss what happens next, because the hunters are closing in, the secrets Cain carries could change everything, and Chapter 2 will bring blood, betrayal, and a showdown at dawn that neither of them can escape.